I've always been the guy who followed the rules. Go to college, get the degree, find a corporate job, and climb the ladder. At 24, I thought I was doing okay. But then there was Eleanor. She wasn't just my boss, she was the sun that everyone else in the office orbited around. She was 38, sharp as a razor, and had a gaze that could wither a cactus. It was a Tuesday in late October. Chicago was being hammered by a storm. The windows of the 42nd floor were rattling. Everyone had scurried home to beat the traffic, but I was stuck. My car wouldn't start, and I was waiting for an Uber that seemed to be hours away. The office was a graveyard of empty cubicles and flickering fluorescent lights. The smell of stale coffee and expensive floor wax hung heavy in the air. Then, the intercom on my desk crackled. It was a sharp, sudden sound that broke the eerie silence. "Liam? Are you still there?" It was her. Eleanor. Her voice sounded different. Not the sharp, demanding tone she used in boardrooms. It was softer, almost melodic. "Yes, Eleanor. Just waiting for a ride," I replied, my heart starting to race for no reason. "Come to my office. I have something confidential to discuss. And Liam, don't bother bringing your notepad." I walked down the long, carpeted hallway. Every step felt like a mile. I knocked on the heavy oak door. "Come in." And locked the door behind you. The room was dim. She was standing by her desk, a glass of scotch in one hand, looking out at the lightning-streaked sky. Eleanor didn't turn around immediately. She just stood there, watching the rain hit the glass. Her hair, usually in a tight, professional bun, was loose and cascading over her shoulders like a dark waterfall. It made her look younger, softer, but also more dangerous. "Do you know how lonely it is at the top, Liam?" she finally asked, her voice barely a whisper. I didn't know how to answer. I stood near the door, my hands trembling slightly. She turned around then. Her blazer was off, and her silk blouse glowed in the soft light of the desk lamp. "Everyone is afraid of me. Everyone wants something from me. But you just look at me with those honest eyes." She walked closer, her heels clicking softly on the rug. The scent of sandalwood and jasmine began to fill my senses. "You've been staring at me for 6 months, Liam. I've seen it in the meetings. I've seen it when you think I'm not looking." I felt the blood rush to my face. I couldn't deny it. "Tonight, I'm going to give you exactly what you've been dreaming of," she said, placing her glass on the desk and reaching for my tie. The air in the office felt electric. As she stood before me, the transition from the boss to just Eleanor was complete. She wasn't looking for a subordinate, she was looking for a connection. My hands, which were shaking just moments ago, found a sudden surge of confidence. I reached out, my fingers brushing against the silk of her sleeve. "You don't have to do this, Eleanor," I whispered, though every cell in my body wanted the opposite. She looked at me, a small, daring smile playing on her lips. "I'm doing exactly what I've wanted to do since I saw your resume, Liam. You were so overqualified, so eager, and so handsome." The sound of the rain against the glass intensified, creating a rhythmic backdrop to the silence of the room. I leaned in, the scent of her jasmine perfume making my head spin. When our lips finally met, it wasn't a gentle kiss. It was months of pent-up professional frustration and hidden glances exploding all at once. She tasted like expensive scotch and desire. The desk behind her groaned as I lifted her up, her legs wrapping around my waist, pulling me into a world where HR rules and corporate hierarchies didn't exist. Hours passed, or maybe it was just minutes. Time becomes irrelevant when you're breaking every rule you've ever lived by. The dim light of the city below cast long shadows against the office walls. Every touch felt amplified. The cold leather of the sofa, the warmth of her skin, the low hum of the city, it all blended into a singular experience. "I never thought you had this in you," she gasped, her head tilted back, her eyes closed in pure bliss. I realized then that power isn't just about who signs the paychecks. In this room, in this moment, the power was shared. We were two people escaping the cold, calculated world of business for something raw and real. We eventually lay there on the massive office rug, staring up at the ceiling tiles, catching our breath. The lightning had stopped, replaced by a steady, soothing drizzle. What happens tomorrow? I asked, the reality of the 9 a.m. meeting starting to creep back in. Eleanor turned her head to look at me, her gaze soft and vulnerable for the first time. Tomorrow, she said, we go back to being professionals. But tonight? Tonight belongs to us. The morning came too soon. I woke up in my own bed, feeling like the whole night was a vivid dream. But the scent of jasmine on my pillow told a different story. I walked into the office at 8:55 a.m., my palms sweating. I sat at my cubicle, staring at my computer screen, unable to focus. Then, the elevator pinged. Eleanor stepped out. She was wearing a sharp charcoal suit, her hair back in its signature tight bun. She looked like the cold, untouchable CEO she always was. She walked past my desk without a word, her heels clicking rhythmically on the floor. My heart sank. Maybe it was just a one-time thing. But then, my email notification chimed. From Eleanor Maxwell, subject, urgent performance review body, your performance last night was exemplary, Liam. I think we need to schedule a recurring meeting. Every Thursday after 7 p.m. Don't be late. I looked up and saw her through the glass wall of her office. She didn't look at me, but I saw a faint, secret smile as she took a sip of her coffee. The private meetings had just become a permanent part of my schedule. My corporate ladder didn't just get shorter, it became a lot more interesting. Walking into the office every morning after that night was like living in a spy novel. I had to keep my face completely blank while my mind was screaming with memories. Every time Eleanor walked past my desk, I could smell her perfume, and it felt like a secret signal meant only for me. One afternoon, during a particularly boring meeting about regional sales, our eyes met across the long conference table. For a split second, the CEO mask slipped, and I saw a flash of that same fire from the rainy night. I had to look down at my notepad immediately to keep from grinning. The tension was becoming a drug, and I was completely hooked. I realized then that the secret was almost as exhilarating as the act itself. As the weeks went by, we became bolder. It wasn't just late nights anymore. It was coded messages in the middle of the day and brief, electric moments in the break room when no one was looking. I remember one rainy Tuesday afternoon when she asked me to bring some files to her office. As soon as I stepped inside, she didn't even look up from her laptop, but she said, "Lock it, Liam." That simple command sent my heart into overdrive. We were playing a dangerous game with our careers, but standing there in that high-rise office, looking out at the foggy skyline of Chicago, it felt like we were the only two people who were truly alive in this building of corporate drones. Then came the invitation that changed everything. Eleanor had a business trip to a luxury resort in Aspen, and she requested my presence as her lead assistant for the weekend. The office gossiped, but no one suspected the truth. That weekend, away from the prying eyes of the city and the cold walls of Maxwell Industries, the barriers finally came down completely. There was no desk between us, no boss and employee labels. Just two people in a cabin surrounded by snow and silence. We spent hours talking about things that had nothing to do with marketing, her fears of failure, my dreams of traveling. I saw the woman behind the power, and it made me realize this was becoming much more than just a secret office affair. But every secret has its price. We almost got caught. It was a late Wednesday evening, and we thought the floor was empty. We were in the executive lounge, laughing about something trivial, when we heard the jingle of keys from the security guard. We barely had seconds to straighten our clothes and look professional before he walked in. The look of suspicion on his face was terrifying. That night, after I got home, the reality hit me. One mistake could ruin her reputation and end my career before it even started. I sat in the dark, wondering if the thrill was worth the risk. But then my phone buzzed with a text from her, "I can't stop thinking about you." And just like that, all my doubts vanished. Now, as I look back at where I started, the nervous 24-year-old afraid of his own shadow, I hardly recognize myself. Eleanor didn't just give me a secret life, she gave me confidence. We still maintain the professional distance in public. I still call her Ms. Maxwell in front of the board. But there's a new weight to my steps and a new focus in my work. We know that this can't stay a secret forever, and eventually, a choice will have to be made. But for now, as the sun sets over the city and the office lights begin to flicker off, I wait for that familiar buzz of the intercom. Because I know that behind that heavy oak door, my real life is just beginning. The annual charity gala was the biggest event of the year for Maxwell Industries. Everyone who was anyone in Chicago was there. Eleanor looked breathtaking in a floor-length emerald gown, gliding through the room like royalty. I was there as part of the support staff, blending into the background in my tuxedo. But every time she laughed at a donor's joke, she would catch my eye from across the ballroom. It was a silent conversation in a room full of noise. Later that night, in the deserted courtroom, we shared a stolen moment that felt more dangerous than anything we had done before. The risk of being seen by the city's elite was terrifying, but the adrenaline only made our connection stronger. We were playing with fire in a room full of gasoline. Things took a sharp turn when Marcus, a rival VP who had always been gunning for Eleanor's position, started asking questions. He noticed that I was always the one staying late, and he noticed the subtle change in Eleanor's demeanor. One afternoon, he stopped me in the hallway, a cold smirk on his face. "You're putting in a lot of overtime lately, Liam," he said, his eyes narrowing. "Eleanor must be very demanding." I felt a chill run down my spine. I realized that our secret wasn't just a romantic thrill anymore, it was a liability. I had to warn Eleanor, but doing so without drawing more attention was like walking a tightrope in a windstorm. That night, we didn't meet for passion, we met for survival. We sat in her office with the lights off, the only glow coming from the city outside. We had to plan our moves like a game of chess. If Marcus found proof, Eleanor's career would be over, and I'd be blacklisted from the industry. For the first time, I saw the weight of her crown. She wasn't just a boss or a lover, she was a woman fighting to keep everything she had built. We spent hours going over logs and security footage, making sure we hadn't left any traces. Working together to protect our secret brought us closer in a way that the physical attraction never could. We were partners in every sense of the word. The day of the board meeting arrived. Marcus was ready to strike. I stood outside the conference room, my heart hammering in my chest, listening to the muffled voices inside. He tried to bring up irregularities in the staff schedule, looking directly at Eleanor. But Eleanor was ready. She turned the tables on him so fast it made my head spin, using the very files we had prepared to show his own inefficiency. She was a lioness protecting her territory. When the meeting ended and Marcus walked out looking defeated, I knew we had won. But the victory felt hollow. We had survived, but the close call had changed the nature of our game forever. After the storm with Marcus settled, we sat on her balcony overlooking the lake. The air was crisp, and for the first time in months, we weren't looking over our shoulders. "We can't keep living in the shadows, Liam," she said, her voice steady. We discussed the future, not as a secret, but as a reality. I decided to move to a subsidiary company, a promotion that would remove the direct reporting conflict. It was a sacrifice for our careers, but a commitment to our future. As I looked at her, no longer just my boss, but the woman I had fought beside, I realized that the private meeting that started it all wasn't just an office fling. It was the moment I finally stepped into the life I was meant to lead. The shadows were gone, and for the first time, we were walking into the light together. Even though we were careful, the atmosphere in the office began to shift. Whispers started in the break room. People noticed Eleanor was softer in meetings, and I was getting more high-profile assignments. I felt like I was walking with a target on my back. Every time a coworker looked at me a second too long, my heart would skip a beat. We had to be even more invisible, even more perfect in our professional roles. The pressure was mounting, and the thrill was starting to feel a lot like fear. One rainy Friday, I stayed back to finish a report. I thought I was alone until I heard the familiar click of heels. Eleanor walked into the cubicle area, looking tired but radiant. "You're still here, Liam?" she asked, her voice echoing in the empty space. I stood up, and for a moment, the entire office felt like it belonged only to us. We didn't say much, but the silence was filled with everything we couldn't say in public. It was a reminder that no matter how hard the day was, we were in this together. The board announced a major restructuring. Eleanor wanted to promote me to a director role, but we both knew it would raise red flags. We spent an entire evening debating it in her living room. "If I take this, they'll investigate everything," I told her. She looked at me with a mix of pride and sadness. "You deserve it, Liam. But I don't want to lose what we have." It was the first time we had to choose between our professional growth and our personal happiness. The choice was agonizing. We decided to take a risk and drove out to a small coastal town for the weekend. No laptops, no phones, no Maxwell Industries. For 48 hours, we were just two people in love, walking on the beach and eating at local diners where no one knew our names. I saw a side of Eleanor I'd never seen, playful, relaxed, and completely free. It made me realize that I didn't just want a secret affair, I wanted a life with her. But the drive back to Chicago felt like returning to a prison of our own making. A routine internal audit was triggered, and my heart nearly stopped when they asked for my communication logs. I spent hours scrubbing my personal devices, terrified that a single misplaced "I love you" would destroy us. The auditor was a cold, methodical man who seemed to look right through my lies. Those 3 days were the longest of my life. Every time Eleanor passed me in the hall, we couldn't even share a glance. We were two strangers again, waiting for the axe to fall. The stress finally got to us. We had our first real fight in her office behind locked doors. "This is too much, Eleanor. I can't keep lying to everyone I work with," I shouted. She looked at me, her eyes filling with tears. "Do you think this is easy for me? I'm risking my entire legacy." It was a moment of raw honesty that stripped away the glamour of our secret. We realized that if we didn't change something soon, the pressure would tear us apart before the board ever could. I made the hardest decision of my life. I drafted my resignation letter. I knew that for us to have a real chance, I had to leave the company. I brought the letter to her that night. She read it in silence, her hands shaking. "Is this what you want?" she asked softly. "It's the only way we can be together without the lies," I replied. It was a leap of faith, giving up the career I'd worked so hard for, but looking into her eyes, I knew it was the right move. My last day at Maxwell Industries was surreal. I packed my desk while my coworkers wished me luck, none of them knowing why I was really leaving. Eleanor called me into her office one last time for a farewell meeting. In front of her glass-walled office, we shook hands professionally. "Good luck in your future endeavors, Liam," she said for everyone to hear. But the look in her eyes told me that she'd be waiting for me at home. I walked out of that building feeling 10 pounds lighter. 3 months later, things are different. I'm at a new firm, and Eleanor and I don't have to hide anymore. We can walk down the street holding hands. We can go to dinner without scanning the room for coworkers. The transition wasn't easy, and there was some gossip when we finally went public, but the peace of mind is worth every bit of it. I no longer have to be obedient to a boss, I'm a partner to the woman I love. Sometimes I walk past the Maxwell Industries building and look up at the 42nd floor. I remember the nervous kid who walked into that first private meeting, and I smile. That night didn't just change my career, it forced me to become the man I was meant to be. Our story started in the shadows of a corporate office, but it ended in the light. And every time I look at Eleanor, I know that staying late that rainy Tuesday was the best decision I ever made.